Hey everyone, how's it going? Now that Season 1 of Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi is now finished, I will be doing a review of it. So, obviously, this will contain spoilers, so if you haven't gotten a chance to finish the show yet, please go ahead and turn this off. You can come back to it after you've finished. I don't want to spoil anything for you. So, overall, I have mixed feelings about this show. On the one hand, I really do feel like it is a flawed story that has a lot of problems, especially in the earlier parts and the middle parts, but on the other hand, I really do think the show finished strong and contains a lot of awesome Star Wars content, really cool things that I really liked. So I'm going to go over some really awesome positive things and then some not as positive things. So let's start with something that I really enjoyed about this show, and that is the flashback that we got to see in Part 5, showing a younger Anakin and Obi-Wan dueling in a training session. I absolutely love this scene. In of itself, just seeing them dueling and getting to see them as their younger selves in the time leading up to Attack of the Clones was just beautiful. I love getting to see it, just in of itself. But also, I think it really connected well to the story, how they cut to it like throughout the episode, and you got to see it, kind of like as a mirror between, Vader and Obi-Wan where they are now in the timeline of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but also how they were in the past, when they're like brothers and friends, right? And then when they're rivals in the show now. So friends in the past, brothers in the past, really, and then now bitter enemies. Sad in a lot of ways, but also a really cool kind of parallel. So I really love this flashback. Awesome part of the show. Another part of the show that I really enjoyed was getting to see Bail Organa. Every time Bail Organa is on screen, he just commands my attention and respect. He's such a great character to me, a great leader, but more importantly, a great father and family member. Just all around, just a great guy that, like I said, really just commands my respect. I think Jimmy Smits does an excellent job playing him, and Phil LaMarr does an excellent job voicing him in the animated series, Star Wars The Clone Wars, and also in Star Wars Rebels. And overall, those two have done a great job molding and shaping this awesome character. And it was great to see kind of like a chapter of his life we'd never gotten to see before, and that is when he is the father of a young Leia, so a 10-year-old Leia. Really cool getting to see Bail Organa getting to parent one of the most important and classic Star Wars characters of all time, Leia Organa. So I really enjoyed him in the show, and I hope if there is a Kenobi Season 2, I hope Bail Organa is brought into it somehow. Now, moving to something I actually didn't like about this show, let's go ahead and talk about the Inquisitors. I think the Inquisitors ended up being a real disappointment in the series. First of all, I've never really been that excited by the Inquisitors. I mean, they're basically just really poorly trained dark side users who are pretty easy to dispose of for any Jedi Knight or above, right? So just the fact that they don't pose much of a threat already makes them kind of just irrelevant in my mind. They're just not that interesting. But in this series, they honestly are even more irrelevant in the sense that they don't really do anything of significance, other than Riva, of course. Obviously, she plays a significant role in the show. But the characters I have here, the Grand Inquisitor and the Fifth Brother, really ended up being a bunch of nothings to me. I really actually liked the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels, but here he really just didn't do anything of significance. He just kind of, was in those first few episodes until Riva stabbed him, then he appeared later just to show us that he had survived. And, I mean, he never really fought anybody or did anything or helped, change the story at all. And the same goes for the Fifth Brother. They kind of built up this rivalry between him and Riva that never really materialized into anything. So, in my mind, both these characters could have been wiped from the show, and we wouldn't have felt their absence at all. So, I think, unless they changed their story and did something different with them, then they should have just been left out of this show. So that would be my suggestion. Either find something meaningful for them to do in the story, or just eliminate from the story entirely. Because what we got to see was, unfortunately, just meaningless in my mind. Now, moving back to something positive, I really enjoy getting to see Aunt Beru in this series. I've always liked her character, but we've never really gotten to see much of her. So it was nice to see more of her and to see her as a parent to Luke. And that was awesome. She's a very caring, compassionate mother who has clearly raised Luke as her own child. And it's really cool to see that. And also just the length she'll go to protect him. As we get to see, I mean, she puts her whole life on the line. Will stop at nothing to protect him against Riva. So I really enjoy getting to see that. And my only complaint, honestly, is that we didn't get to see more of her. We really only saw her in the final part 6. But everything we got to see was awesome, and I hope if they do a season 2, I hope we get to see more of her. And kind of, in the same part of the story as her, Uncle Owen, I think, was good too. He's a bit harder to kind of like just because his character is supposed to be kind of gruff and, you know, close-minded and everything, but that's just who his character is, and I think, his character is written well, and he serves his purpose, so I think he's a good character as well, but I will say Aunt Beru is definitely a lot more compassionate and likable as a person. But I do still want to say I do think Uncle Owen is a good person, and he does truly care about Luke just as much as Aunt Beru does. So together, they're both a great couple, great characters, and in the same part of the story, again, Luke, while I think the actor did a good job playing Luke's personality as a young kid, honestly, I think look-wise, it was a bit of a miscast. He really doesn't look like a young Luke. I think the hair color is wrong, and facially, he just doesn't look like a young Mark Hamill would look. So, I mean, props to the child actor who played him. I think he did a great job playing the personality and everything, but just the looks were off. I think they could have picked somebody who resembled Mark Hamill better. But other than that, the whole family of Aunt Beru, Uncle Owen, and Luke Skywalker, I think, were awesome in this show. So, moving to something more negative again, I really did not enjoy the first duel between Obi-Wan and Vader in this show, which was shown in Part 3. Overall, I do like that Obi-Wan was shown to be kind of at a low point in his life throughout a lot of the first parts of this series. It makes sense after the traumatic events of Order 66 that Obi-Wan would really be at a low point in his life, especially just stranded out in the desert on his own, most of his friends and loved ones dead or out of touch. Obviously that would have a massive toll on his mental health and just overall his will to live and be himself. So I totally get that he would be at a low point in his life, but I think this show, exaggerated it too much. It was too extreme to the point where Obi-Wan barely could use the Force anymore. And that just seems silly to me. I'll talk about that more at the end of the video, but for now, I think it makes sense that Vader beat Obi-Wan in this duel, but just how extremely polarized it was, one-sided it was. I think it's absurd that Obi-Wan, even at a low point, was just tossed around so easily, considering he's a Jedi Master and one of the most powerful, beings in the Star Wars galaxy. For him to be destroyed that easily, I think it was too much, in my opinion. However, I absolutely loved the second duel between Obi-Wan and Vader. Incredible fight that went on for a long time, both Vader and Obi-Wan demonstrating just how skilled they are, both with the Force and with lightsabers. And it was, just awesome, just from a fighting standpoint, just to see this awesome drawn-out lightsaber fight. But then also, of course, the emotional component. Obi-Wan having to be forced to fight his former friend, his former brother, and finally really come to terms with the fact that the Anakin that he knew is unfortunately dead and gone. And all that's left is Darth Vader at this point, until obviously Luke is able to bring him back. But at this point, really, there is no Anakin Skywalker. There's only Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan finally has to come to terms with that. And Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen did an absolutely fantastic job showing this emotional relationship between these two characters. I loved every single second of that duel, because of the fighting, of course, but most importantly because of the emotional character, elements going on in this scene. That was absolutely fantastic, and it really just shows a great change for Obi-Wan going from being at a low point and being able to finally come to terms with everything that's happened and realize that he still has a lot of purpose in life, both for himself and for other people, primarily Luke and Leia, right? He has a huge duty to protect them, and he realizes that he really has to rise up and become his former self again, and I think it was a great character transition for him. So this duel was awesome, did a great job to show how far Obi-Wan came just in such a short time in this show. So overall, this all leads me to have some mixed feelings about how Obi-Wan was portrayed in this show. On the one hand, I really do think they overdid just how low Obi-Wan went. Especially scenes where he could barely lift Leia up off the ground, and stuff like that. I think it's just absurd how, how weak they made Obi-Wan. Think about skiing, for example. If you become a really good skier and then you take 10 years off, no skiing at all, and you go back, you got your muscle memory. Of course, you're going to be rusty at first, but you'll relearn it in no time. I've had, people in my life, friends and family, who have done the exact same thing. really great at skiing, then took time off and went back, or were able to get back into it really quick. Same thing here, muscle memory, force memory. We can call it force memory. Obviously, I think he'd be a little rusty, but going from being one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy to barely being able to lift up a kid is absurd. I'm sorry, that's absurd. So things like that, I think, were just overdone. But I still do like that they showed Obi-Wan at a lower point. Like I said, they did it to too extreme of a degree, in my opinion, but I do like that they showed him being beaten by Vader. I would have just had it be, where Obi-Wan put up a better fight, but I do like that he had to be kind of beaten down, and he really had to dig deep and realize that he needed to rise back up and have a better outlook on life and realize his purpose, like I said, for himself and for Luke and Leia and for all the good people around him in the galaxy. For him to be able to rise up and become a better person. And that was just a great kind of character arc to witness throughout this show. And that really culminated in that second duel between Obi-Wan and Vader. And that was absolutely fantastic to watch. And then also just him getting to develop this relationship with Leia. That was really cool and meaningful. And of course, it's sad to think that when they parted ways, the next time they see each other is on the Death Star in A New Hope, where Leia unfortunately has to watch, Obi-Wan get killed. But it was great to see them have that relationship, and Leia, honestly, I think was a big reason for Obi-Wan to realize his purpose. I mean, him realizing he had a duty to protect her and her brother, and of course other people throughout the galaxy as well. His duty as a Jedi. So I think Leia did a lot to help him realize, So, it was a relationship where they both helped each other. I mean, obviously, Obi-Wan protected Leia and taught her lessons, but she also was able to help him become himself again. So that was really important and really meaningful. So all of these amazing positive things about Obi-Wan really do give me a lot to love about the character, and especially the way they ended it with the duel with Obi-Wan and Vader in the Part 6 episode. Absolutely fantastic. I love that. And Obi-Wan having his parting with Leia, and then also getting to meet Luke, Owen and Obi-Wan kind of mending the relationship a bit was awesome to see. And Obi-Wan getting to meet Luke, which sounds like the first time, actually, based on the way Owen phrased it. So that was really cool to see as well. And Obi-Wan just kind of being reinvigorated and realizing, now after having met both Luke and Leia, realizing how important it is for him to protect them and to work to protect, all good people throughout the Star Wars galaxy. And then, of course, at the end, Obi-Wan getting to see Qui-Gon Jinn. That was really special, and also sets up what I would think to be a big storyline in a season 2, getting to see Qui-Gon actually train Obi-Wan in the ways of, life after death, with becoming a Force ghost and becoming one with the Force, right? So I think that would be amazing to see, and this Part 6 really did an excellent job of setting up what is to come in a possible season 2. So a lot of great things about Obi-Wan, definitely some flaws, so that leads me to kind of conclude that he's kind of a thumbs down and thumbs up character for season 1, but it really ended off on a great spot, and I think in a season 2, I think that thumbs down will be going away. I'm looking forward to a season 2. I think a season 2 would be really good. I know some people have some reservations about it, but overall, with the Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan story, along with some other cool things they can mix in there, I think there's enough to justify a second season. And I definitely want to see it. I think it would be awesome. So, before I finish, I just want to mention 3 characters that I haven't talked about yet, and that is Reva, Roken, and Tala. Overall, I think all 3 of these characters are pretty good, but they do have their flaws. Roken's a cool guy who I think is set up really nicely to appear in some future content, maybe Andor. I think he's going to be a cool leader in the Rebel Alliance, and I'm looking forward to all of that. There were a few issues with his character, primarily kind of his intro into the show, where he was refusing to help Obi-Wan, saying he was too dangerous to be around or something, and then 60 seconds later, he was like, okay, you want my help, you got it. So I think that could have been written better, but overall, I think he's a solid character, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him next. Then talking about Tala, I liked how she was dedicated to helping, the Jedi and Force sensitives in the galaxy, and she was a good person with a kind heart and everything, and she really gave up her life to protect Obi-Wan and all the other people around them. So I liked all that, but then there were just some kind of silly cartoonish things with her fighting in the Fortress Inquisitorius and slapping a stormtrooper and stuff, and some things there that could have been done better as well. So again, just like Roken, I think Tala is a good character just with some flaws. And then Reva, honestly, the same as the other two. I think she had a lot of cool things. It was cool to see a Jedi youngling turned into an Inquisitor, but one that wasn't just loyal to the Empire, one that was really actually more interested in killing Vader and really on this vengeful quest to get revenge for all the bad things that Vader did. So I like that, but on the other hand, in a lot of ways, a lot of the things she did didn't really make sense with that storyline. I mean, so at the end of the day, like, she's on a quest to kill Vader because he murdered a bunch of innocent Jedi children, right? But then she goes on her journey to, get revenge. She kills a bunch of innocent people. So it's like, in order to get revenge on a guy for killing innocent people, she kills a bunch of innocent people and tortures Leia, a child, and then gets so close to killing Luke, another child. Both Leia and Luke are, basically like Jedi younglings. I mean, obviously they're not being formally trained at this point, but they're just like she was. And, I mean, she kind of realizes that at the end, but it seemed kind of silly that she didn't realize that until, like, the end of the show. So, a lot of interesting things for the character, but also a lot of things that really didn't make sense. So, just like Roken and Tala, I think Reva is a character that was pretty good, but definitely had some flaws, and a lot of it just comes down to the writing. And there's a lot of good writing in the show, and then some not so good writing. So all three of those characters are a mixed bag in my opinion. Therefore, in conclusion, I really do feel that this is a flawed show, but it did finish strong and it did have a lot of cool things. There were some not so cool things in this show, but there were plenty of cool things as well. And overall, just as a diehard Star Wars fan, I really did enjoy a lot of the show. And for me, I am able to look at those things I did enjoy and kind of, look past the things I didn't enjoy. So overall, I had fun with this show, and even though it's definitely not the best Star Wars content out there in my opinion, it still was worth watching, and I think the second season, if they do it, will be even better based on how this show finished in Season 1. So if they do Season 2, I can't wait to see it, and I'm excited for all the other Star Wars content to come, and I hope all of you are too. Thanks for listening. Appreciate all of you supporting me and supporting this channel. Until next time.